My colleague reported me to HR because I made her go to work, so I resigned and made her lose her mind. I was the director of sales ops for a software company. Karen was on my team. We processed purchase orders. Karen had a small vehicle accident that put her in a neck brace. She also needed once-weekly physical therapy appointments and had some restrictions on duties, all of which I accommodated, with no issue. Despite meeting her needs, Karen decided coming to work was optional. HR noticed that she was repeatedly absent from work for 3 to 4 days at a time, multiple weeks in a row. They did not give me details but told me documentation from her doctor did not justify all of these absences. To make matters worse, Karen would never give notice that she was going to be out, and sometimes would just no-show without ever calling, nor indicate how long she would be out. HR eventually told Karen she needed to either attend work more regularly or get a doctor to sign off on short-term disability. This worked for me. I would rather Karen take extended time off, so I could get a temp to take her responsibilities, than be absent frequently with no warning. Karen's original doctor would not document a need for disability, so she found a doctor who would. She bragged to the team that she found a doctor who would sign off on anything. So Karen went on disability and I was able to get a temp to cover her until she returned. Even though coworkers told me Karen was going to clubs and dancing, I didn't care. That was between her and HR. For now, at least, the work was getting done. The period of Karen's short-term disability eventually expired. At this point, she either had to come back to work, or go on long-term disability so I could replace her permanently. Karen's sign anything doctor would not give her documentation for long-term disability, so Karen grudgingly came back to work. She quickly went back to being absent all of the time. She also refused to do even the basic duties of her job. I went to HR and told them things were not working out and that I wanted to replace her. They were on board with this plan. HR brought Karen in for the talk, but Karen flipped out and said she would sue. Suddenly, HR was not on board. Didn't matter that Karen really had no legal standing. Just the threat of a lawsuit made HR decide it was more important to make Karen happy than to let me have a functional ops department. In one instance, I asked Karen to do a purchase order review and she complained to HR about me bossing her around. I'm her boss. HR told me that I could no longer give assignments or work duties to Karen. When I said that was fine, as long as they let me hire someone else to do Karen's job, they refused to give me a request for a new employee. This went on for months and Karen quickly learned she could complain to HR about anything and get her way. You would not believe the accommodations she was given. Meanwhile, she made no effort to hide that she was not really injured anymore, was barely coming to work, but was still getting paid. She even encouraged other team members to take advantage of this loophole she had found. Then one day during the month-end crunch, Karen had not come in or called, so I called and asked her if she planned to work that day. It was a simple question carefully crafted to be neutral in tone. She told HR that I had harassed her with my phone call. I got written up. So, I immediately put in my 2-week notice. Not going to deal with my career being f***ed by a woman who had worked maybe 6 days in a month, especially when I gave 60 to 70 hours a week to the company. With me suddenly gone, the sales ops fell apart. Purchase orders were not going through. To address this emergency, a company senior VP took over sales ops until my replacement could be found. HR was certainly not going to tell this guy he could not give Karen duties, so Karen actually had to work. About a month after I quit, Karen got my home number and called me, furious that she now had to actually work. She told me she was going to report me to HR, for a company I no longer worked for, and sure enough, she did exactly that. I kept in touch with members of my old team and they told me she was laughed out of the HR office. But here's where it gets absurd. Karen called me again, cursing, screaming and threatening me, and demanded I give her the contact information for HR at my new company. She was going to report me to a department that had no idea who she was, nor had any jurisdiction over her complaints. The stupidity was unbelievable, and I giggled at her right up until I hung up and blocked her. Last I heard, Karen was finally fired, got 0 unemployment benefits, and ended up moving her and her kids in with her mom.